Episode 316 of the TV Dudes, recorded January 14th, 2021. The Good, the Badass, and the Ugly. This week, it's all about who's good, who's badass, and who's ugly. Bryan Cranston can play all three of those in Showtime's Your Honor. There are ultimate badasses in Cobra Kai Season 3 on Netflix. There's some ugly language and history of swear words on Netflix. And you know what the Transformers on Netflix's War for Cybertron Earthrise are in disguise? Maybe they're ugly. But before we get to all that, I'm Randy.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Les.
And we're the TV Dudes.
Oh, so I guess I got overruled on fugly.
It's low class, Kyle. We're classier than that.
Well, we're talking about the history of swear words. You know, season 2 is going to have a whole episode about fugly.
Oh, they're going to have to drill down. It's going to get weird.
You know how in like PG-13 movies you get like one fuck? That's what this is. It's like we're a PG-13 podcast. If we use fugly, we can't talk about swear words.
You get one fug.
You get one
fuck. Or one F-bomb. Or one bleep.
I used it right at the beginning and that was it. No more.
Jesus. Am I in like a 300 episode deficit? Like, what am I at now?
Right. Yes, I have some bad news about that. Yeah.
Les will be silent on air for all of 2022. I have to be at the show. I have to be on the show, but I can't say anything.
So yeah, we're talking. We've got Your Honor is actually a show from last year. It's running right now, but it started last year. But everything else, I think, is new to us. It's stuff that started. I guess technically, War for Cybertron dropped like the 30th of December, but that's basically a 2021 show. Before we get to all the shows for the week, though, it is time, as always, for the Power Rankings.
Ooh, right. Thank you, sir. You know the deal down here. I mean, anybody can tell you what they like. That's kind of what most of the time people do on podcasts. But if you want to know what's actually good, well, you got to talk to an old friend of ours. All right. Doesn't pay his child support. He's got warrants in several states. We're talking obviously about the internet. All right. Most specifically, websites like IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes. And what we're asking them is, these shows we've watched this year, maybe some shows we haven't watched, some shows people are blowing up our social media about. Out of these shows, what is the best? And the way that we get that is with this 300-point score we get by adding up the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes with the critic score, as well as IMDb percentage for TV and film. And guys, this is 2021, a new year Power Rankings. And as promised, things are shifting. Last week, we talked about the end of 2020 and what was hot. Now we only have a few holdovers. The Mandalorian, Flight Attendant, The Unicorn, Star Trek Discovery. These are all shows that have aired within the past 6 weeks. That's kind of our new rule of thumb. But real quick, let's get into 10 through 5. Guys, press F in the chat for Letterkenny. Because, oh my gosh, Rotten Tomatoes, still no critic score. I actually checked it. There's 3 people who have ranked season 9. Insufficient numbers. It's such a shame, but it still beat Death to 2020 and The Stand, which had full rankings across the board. Didn't even make the top 10. But Letterkenny, this is just, I thought that maybe getting rid of a Metacritic was going to help him, but doesn't look like it.
Rotten Tomatoes, how's Rotten Tomatoes not have anybody talking Letterkenny?
I'm like, for real, we need to email somebody. How we get on there? Let us do some.
That's it. I'm going over to the internet's house.
Spam their critic review. Yeah, I'm going over to they skip town. They don't live there anymore. Oh, sorry. Damn internet.
I'm just gonna hold up an iPad like Lloyd Dobler and play episodes of Letterkenny.
All right, so 10 through 5 is going to be Letterkenny and number 10. The new season of Mad About You on Amazon, number 9. History of Swear Words on Netflix, number 8.
Motherfucker.
Your Honor, Showtime, number 7, which 43 for the critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's still number 7. That's crazy. Star Trek Discovery, number 6, and The Unicorn, also on CBS, number 5. And then the top 4, you guys are probably looking at your list. You can't really guess now, can you? The top 4 we have in number 4, Transformers, War for Cybertron Earthrise, the new installment that we're going to be talking about today.
The internet loves animation, man. It always loves animation.
What's that good Netflix?
Seem to favor the animated. That's the real anime, right?
Yes, that's the real anime.
Carol and Tuesday, Great Pretender anime. In number 3, The Flight Attendant over on HBO Max. 240 out of 300. And then top 2, no surprise. Although I am realizing that I didn't throw Disney Gallery, the making of The Mandalorian, in here. We might have to do that for next week. Although Mandalorian's going to drop out of the runnings pretty soon, because that was the December 18th was the last episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's about that time. But yeah, number 2 is The Mandalorian, and then number 1 we're going to talk about tonight, season 3 of Cobra Kai.
Yep. All right.
Yeah, there's a bunch of other shows that came out in January. Some of them we're going to talk about. Some of them we may not get around to. But next week, I'm going to have like 20 extra shows to throw into the machine to see where everything washes out.
I love knowing that on any given week, we could just bring up Mandalorian Disney Gallery, talk about it for like a minimum like 2.5, 3 minutes, and fuck up the rankings. Just like throwing a rock in the middle of that pond.
If it's not in the timestamps, I don't include it. If it's in the timestamps,
so we got to talk about it long enough to make Randy's timestamps. That's
Okay, so yeah, it's just in the TV diary. It didn't go in. It's got to be in the timestamps.
It's got to be in the timestamps. All right.
Or if it airs, I want to throw in stuff that's airing because I want to see what people are saying about new shows. Even if those numbers are reliable. Unfortunately, last year, some of the worst numbers we got for stuff that just aired because people haven't had time to review it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, thank you, Kyle, for our weekly power rankings. And now it's time for our new feature, our weekly TV diaries.
TV
diaries.
Last week, I felt like a pretty good list of stuff. This week, though, you all smoked me. You watched a ton more TV than I did. So I'm gonna close out with my embarrassingly small TV diary. Let's start with Kyle, because I saw on Kyle's TV diary I see something notable. I see a movie, and that movie's called The Thing. Kyle, did you finally watch The Thing?
The movie about the dog and the helicopter, and how the helicopter blows up at the beginning, but by the end the dog reunites with the helicopter, and everybody lives happily ever after.
It's like Old Yeller meets Free Willy. It's the greatest.
This would be a real cool sequel to Homeward Bound. The Thing. Or insert dog movie here. Yeah, I finally got around to it in the 11th hour because there was just a lot of other stuff that came across my plate this week. And also, I don't know, I had some aversion to not watching The Thing. It was never one of those movies that was like Halloween. I watched a million times as a kid. Like it was either on TV or we'd rent it, but for some reason The Thing, I just never got around to it.
So not watching The Thing kind of became your thing.
Now here's what else I watched. That documentary on Netflix, 13th, about the prison system.
Yeah, that's been on my list.
That's an amazing documentary.
Episode of John Oliver without the jokes, which probably makes you want to stay away, but I promise you it is worth watching. It's important, and there's a lot more that I learned than just kind of the current state of the prison system, which John Oliver gets into really good. But when you see the line that's drawn from like slavery to the prison system, you're like, that is so much shorter than I thought it actually was.
Yep. Yeah, I learned a lot watching that documentary. Everybody should check that out, even if you think you remember that from school somewhere.
Yeah. I I'm gonna hit the high notes real quick, and then I'll run down real quick kind of the stuff that I normally watch. But the Speed Cubers documentary on Netflix about kids who compete for the world record in Rubik's Cube solving. Didn't really know what to expect. Turned out to be this really wholesome story about an autistic kid who kind of comes in and just creams the champion's butt. Mm-hmm. And this guy who was the champion is just so humble and like befriends this autistic kid. And you get to see like he's not able to communicate his emotions very well. And the Rubik's Cube helps him a ton because he's, super brilliant and really good at it. But like as you learn about this kid through the film, by the end of it, he has this emotional breakthrough where if you just came in on this one scene, you'd be like, oh, that kid just asked how that other kid was doing. But they set it up in a way where you realize, oh no, that's impossible for a kid like this. And he had such an impact that this kid was actually able to, open up and make connection. The Speed Cubers on Netflix. It was super good. Loved it. I also caught that new Nick Offerman cartoon on Fox, The Great Outdoors, which looks kind of interesting. It definitely looks better than Duncanville, which I was not digging. It's got a lot more to chew on. I'm gonna be checking that out some more. Also, Mr. Mayor, we're talking about in the next couple of weeks.
Right.
Everything for the show tonight. I'm watching SWAT and Colbert, Kimmel, and Seth Meyers every week. That everybody knows that. And then, Bridgerton. But I'm told I can't express my true feelings about Bridgerton. Of course, I would have feelings, guys.
Well, we're probably not going to cover Bridgerton because my true feelings are yawn.
Yawn. Although you did feel that way about Downton Abbey, right?
Yes, I did. I felt that way about Downton Abbey as well.
This is no Downton Abbey, people. This is no Downton Abbey. If your girlfriend or wife hasn't already got you watching this show, you can probably skip this one.
What else, Cal?
That's pretty much it for my list. I'm leaving a few things because, like Randy said, I watched a ton of stuff this week. You watched a couple movies in there. I saw. Watched In Bruges this week. I'm getting ready for that. Brendan Gleeson as Donald Trump in that new Showtime docudrama.
Okay.
That thing looks really good. So yeah, I'm watching The Guard this next week with Brendan Gleeson and Don Cheadle.
How is Man Like Mobeen?
Okay, I watched Man Like Mobeen for the first time. This is a Palma and Pilley recommendation.
Yep.
And I actually stopped it in episode 2 because I was like, I need to sit down and concentrate on this. It's only one episode in, but this could be like the British Atlanta.
Oh shit! Okay,
for real. All right. The first episode
Paul really
is definitely kind of playing. The thing is, some of the comedy is like very funny and like intentionally funny, whereas Atlanta just seems like everything funny that happens in this very serious real world. Which usually makes the jokes hit way harder. So it may be too soon to tell on Man Like Mobeen, but was really digging that. Also, The Lost Arcade on Amazon is, I didn't realize this, but like arcades are insanely expensive to run. And somewhere around like mid 2000s, places like New York City, it just became cost prohibitive to run arcades.
That makes sense.
Like we are fortunate enough, we have pinballs here in Austin, and it's still able. Well, hopefully after the pandemic, we'll see. But we're still able to enjoy, classic machines. But yeah, it's kind of sad. These kids in New York who pretty much had their machines taken away from them. Yep, that's everything on my list.
Les, what's your rundown look like?
Let's see. So I watched a little bit of Infinity Train on HBO Max. I remember 4 or 5 years ago, I think there was a short that was like a test for a potential Adult Swim show or cartoon. And it's got John Oliver as one of the little robots. This girl she runs away from home and she ends up jumping on a train, and it's a fucking crazy interdimensional infinite train as far as she can tell. Like it's just nothing but cars, and each car is a complete like holodeck level world. And so one world is all corgis, Corginia, and the king of the corgis, Atticus, ends up going with her. John Oliver plays this little robot. He's great. The whole thing has I have no idea who the fuck this show is aimed at age-wise. It has, even more than Adventure Time, it has that this is a little too dark and weird for little kids, I would think, and I don't know if they're going to plug into it, but I feel like this is made for stone college freshmen. And as such, I'm there. So Infinity Train's on HBO Max. I watched Warrior on HBO Max as well. That's a Cinemax fold-in that HBO Max doesn't have all of the Cinemax shows. I bet that's a yet. But Warrior is a Bruce Lee show. Lee was developing this when he died. I cannot see how it would have ever gotten off the ground without them doing a kung fu style thing of replacing him with a white dude at the time. They just weren't going to make this show, but it's fantastic. It is the story of it's kind of a Deadwood in Chinatown in San Francisco there may be 10 years after the Civil War. And so it's a whole lot of Irish that are mad about all the new influx of Chinese immigrants that are working in San Francisco, and like the problems of the police trying to deal with it. And the guy who is very clearly would have been the Bruce Lee character shows up and ends up working for one of the gangs. And it's a lot of fun. They do this great thing of like people start talking in like Cantonese, and they're running subtitles, and then there's like a sound, and it goes to English. Okay. So that you understand that like we've spent this entire hour in Chinatown in San Francisco in 1880 something, and these people are not speaking English. They're all speaking Chinese to each other.
When I would watch local TV in South Africa, they would do a weird thing where they'd switch from Afrikaans to English just in the middle of a phrase. It'd be like something, something, something. How are you doing? Something, something, something. Like, and that would just be how the dialogue was phrased.
This definitely flips back and forth, but it's great. And the action scenes are fantastic. The way that Deadwood once a season would have like the fist fight to end all fist fights on TV. This routinely has some like, oh my God, that's one of the most vicious knife fights I've seen. And just like once an episode, somebody gets their ass handed to them in a just spectacular way. I'm really digging it. I think I'm like 4 episodes or 5 episodes in now. There's a lot of opium trade and how corrupt San Francisco is, and
drugs.
Yeah. The cops and their own problems. Like the nicest cop is Southerner from Savannah, and so no one wants to work with him, and everybody, I mean, it's less than 10 years after the Civil War. No one wants to work with him, and he can't convince anybody that he's not like the most racist person they've ever met, and like he's actually far better than the rest of the cops are. But it's great. Like you're seeing a lot of politics I don't normally see explored. And so yeah, I was really surprised by that. Reached back and watched Franklin and Bash, which I talked about, and more Fringe. Robert Rodriguez has We Can Be Heroes, which is it's in the Shark Boy and Lava Girl, which I never actually watched, universe. It is literally about like one of their kids and a bunch of other kids. Very rarely have I seen any movie so directly set up to be specifically about the theme of teamwork. All their parents, Christian Slater's in it. Like the parents are great. Pedro Pascal. They're all the Justice League basically, and they get their asses handed to them because they are all cocky sons of bitches now, and they don't work well together anymore. And their kids aren't cocky sons of bitches. They think all their powers are weird and lame because they're kind of second generation, more obscure kind of power set. And them learning to work together is directly the theme. And it is a Robert Rodriguez kids movie, so it's got that feel to the effects and everything. But honestly, this was a lot of fun. I think as far as family movies go, this was great. Watched Lupin, which I think we'll be talking about on the show at some point.
Yeah, we're gonna cover that one.
That's a French Netflix show that I really dug. I also watched the movie of Trading Places, which is really great and then has a trash third act. Man,
what? No, it's got that great sting at the end.
It does. But to get there, you got to go through the whole Jamaican blackface thing.
Ooh, yeah, that's rough.
Which is just weird. It's a long scene. Best Leftovers Ever with Jamie Tone? Yeah. Jackie Tone. So that's a Netflix show that is definitely up my alley as far as cooking. They take fast food leftovers and make chefs make things out of them.
I wanted to ask you on this one. Is it anything like, would you say if you like Nailed It, that might be in the same vein?
I hate watching people fail at like I don't like nailed it. And
Okay.
so these are real chefs. Like they
Okay.
do some stunning shit with old French fries and chicken
Okay.
tenders and crap. Like
Okay.
where sometimes they have them take good leftovers and like organic leftovers and make comfort food. Sometimes, at least I watched the first episode, so they have them make comfort food out of really high end like organic leftovers, and then they have them take fast food leftovers and make like hot cuisine.
Huh. Okay.
But it's great. They're you can tell that these are pro chefs. Like they're doing good work.
Okay. All right.
I watched a few more movies. I watched How High, which is just a terrible movie that I adore. I watched VFW on Shudder, and
Isn't that Weird Al?
Yep. No, no, that's UHF.
UHF, yeah.
With Fran Drescher. So VFW has the actor that's John Kreese on Cobra Kai, and it's got William Sadler and Fred Williamson. A ton of it's a D-list expendable, like the really expendable Expendables, and they are besieged in their VFW, and what it ends up being like a low budget Dread shot in Dallas. It is vicious. I enjoy the living shit out of this movie. It is a blast. It's worth paying for a month of Shudder to go watch it. Also on Shudder, nobody believes me, but the name of this movie, I swear to God, it's a movie. It's not like that. It's called Porno. So I watched Porno this weekend. This is Fangoria has been started producing horror movies, and so far I've really enjoyed them. But this is about a like super Christian town and the lame 2-screen movie theater that is running like League of Their Own and Encino Man, I think are the two movies that they're running. And the employees are going to get to pick one of the two movies to watch tonight by the lame-o that runs this thing, and their weird-ass projectionist that's like a super Christian dude home from college because temptation, God, he used to have an addiction, nicotine. I really had. Like he's that dude. And they find this old reel that is one of the best visually produced. You are watching an old ritual that is actually summoning some kind of succubus demon that I've seen in a movie in a while. It is great. They watch this thing and like they know they're fucking up by watching it, but they play it all the way through, and then proceeds just crazy ass gore and a lot of weird like sexual innuendo and tension because they're all like super Christian virgins. It was a lot of fun. I also watched all the stuff for the show, Cobra Kai, Earthrise, all that. Watched a couple of old Mad About You episodes. Mr. Mayor for next week, I guess.
Yeah.
Then some Leverage over on Tubi, which I wish that was on someplace that didn't show commercials and shit.
Tubi, that's the only place it is.
It's on like two others, but they're all commercial kind of thing. Like you can watch it for free on Vudu, but there's going to be commercials, or Tubi.
Yeah.
Just pick your poison. And then the Marvel Legends things, but those are like 7-minute long cuts of movies I've already seen, so I don't know if that counts.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. So let's get to mine because I think that runs down your list. Marvel Legends. I saw the announcement of it. I'm like, oh, this sounds kind of cool. And then I watched them, and yeah, there's 2 episodes. One's about Vision, one's about Scarlet Witch, and they're basically just ads.
If you have not, I have not watched most of these movies. Like I have not rewatched the MCU.
Yeah,
most of these movies I saw one time on opening weekend in the theater. That's it. Yeah. And so for me to go back and reconnect some of the early events, like it made me want to watch Ultron, frankly. Because it reconnected some scenes where I was like, oh yeah, shit, that happened a dozen movies ago.
What it is, besides a really great excuse for them to get us to like click on something they're calling an episode, but it's the previously on. Like if this, Cobra Kai season 3, does this huge, here's what you missed in season 1 and 2. This is essentially for Wanda and Vision. If you aren't familiar with the characters, here's all their movie appearances. And I get the feeling we're going to get one for Bucky. We're going to get one for Falcon.
Yeah, for sure.
I just can't believe they didn't just include this under the
Mask Guy.
Moon Knight. I can't believe they didn't just include this under WandaVision itself is like the trailer or the
zero.
Yeah. That's definitely what it feels like. Although I'd be curious to see when they have a whole collection of these where it's pretty much all the B tier characters that didn't get their own movie. what that would be like. But I feel like people have already done this on YouTube and just as good.
Yeah, it's well put together, but I feel like it's kind of ephemeral. There's nothing to it.
What it reminded me of, Randy, was the kind of comic stuff that used to come out that we've all got a random issue of somewhere that's like Doom Patrol Index or the Who's Who of the Marvel Universe, or so that like when you were a kid and there weren't collections of everything, you couldn't go to the library, the internet, or whatever. You'd have like something that ran you through like 10 years of X-Men history in little excerpts, with an occasional bit of art, and that's kind of what this felt like. Was like, hey, so if for some reason you were the one child on your block who has not watched 68 hours of Marvel movies.
Yeah. And we're definitely going to cover WandaVision next week. I know our buddies Grant and I'm not sure who all is working on with. He's doing a new MCU podcast. It's going to do what they do with Discovery. They're going to do a live, basically right after the show airs. They're going to do their hot takes and talk about it. I'm going to be on that eventually, not this week, but maybe next week. So,
cool. Yeah, and I think they're dropping the first 2 episodes at the same time.
Well, and so I watched Bad About You season 3. Watched a lot of season 3, which I watched that in syndication so much that I basically knew every beat of every episode, but I still laugh at it. I still love it. That's been fun. I watched the final episode of Star Trek Discovery, which I don't know if we're going to go back and discuss in particular, but I got to say I was pretty unhappy about it.
I also watched that.
I did not like the decisions they made, and I have some real issues with the way they wound up. For the first part of this season, I loved, and the last like 4 episodes I was pretty disappointed in.
I hope those uniforms are not sticking around.
Me too. I don't like the new uniforms. I think
they looked bad on all the future people, but at least you could go, oh, I've seen Demolition Man. This is just what people look like in the future.
Yeah. But yeah, I was let down by it. Not anything like execution wise. It's great. It's just the decisions that were made I didn't like. I got in kind of a weird spy mood. I watched Spies in Disguise, which is the animated Will Smith and Tom Holland where he gets turned into a pigeon, and it's a fun movie. But I didn't realize in watching it, I'm like, oh well, that is the third movie in which a black man is not in his body the entire thing, and that really is the thing, isn't it? No wonder people were so upset about it in Soul. Like it is just like they can never let a black man just be a black man in a cartoon. He's got to be in the body of a cat or a pigeon or something else. Then I also went back and watched Austin Powers. All 3 Austin Powers dropped on Hulu. So I watched the first Austin Powers, which, man, that holds up. It's funny. It's got dumb fart humor, but it's still really funny.
Nice.
Yeah.
I remember having so much joy when that came out.
It's great. I like it. It's goofy. It's even though it is about sort of the weird, sex swinging 60s, there's stuff about consent in there. Like they were ahead of their time.
I think that's the first movie that I ever experienced the power of watching a comedy in a group versus watching something alone, because I didn't see it in the theater, and I was, I think, a freshman in college that year, or had just got out of high school, and everybody was doing all the jokes, and I hadn't seen this fucking movie. Yeah. So I immediately went and rented it, right? Like I went home and like at 1:30 or something in the morning, like threw on Austin Powers, and I'm watching it going, I can't connect what is like so funny about this to an entire, like everyone I know. And I brought it up to all my friends of like, I don't see it. And they were like, lower your fucking voice. Don't tell people that. And we will, and like, so that they were like, no. Well, we're going to, you know what? We're leaving this, obviously not a bar because that would have been illegal. But we're leaving this establishment of milkshakes and soda and going back to the house and watching Austin Powers right now. And so like 20 people crammed back into the dorm room and we watched Austin Powers in like a collective group that knew all the bits. And it was like being shown rock horror.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like Letterkenny gets hit by that sometimes. Some people are like, what are you guys so in love with the show? It's like, well, you gotta enjoy you gotta get into the language, and you gotta, maybe if you see it in the group and start quoting it, it's a lot more fun. I watched Megan and I have been making our way through West Wing, so we watched the first 8 episodes of season 4, and I'm excited because I stopped at season 4. I quit when Aaron Sorkin did, and I'm excited to go past it and see what the rest of the series looks like.
To be honest, Randy, I like it better than the Maura Kelly season.
Interesting, but also
season 1.
Also, as I watch it, I'm like
hot takes, guys.
But I know that I know what's coming. And I'm not looking forward to the end of the season because I hated it. So we'll see. But it's a good season. There's a lot of good stuff in it. And I watched because we dropped off West Wing for a day. Megan was going to watch one of her comfort food shows. I watched for the first time ever the first episode of Psych, which I think is fine.
I know, you know that I'm not. Yeah. There's a pineapple in every episode. There's so much running shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna wind up watching all of it, so I'm sure. But I was like, that's cute. I like it. It's definitely. I am not a super fan of like procedurally type stuff, like all the stuff that was USA. Like I liked Burn Notice, but like,
what if Wings were a procedural?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Just procedural, I think, is a hard sell on me. The other thing it's a hard sell, and we'll talk about this right after we get to the Patreon. I only watched 4 episodes of Your Honor, 3.5 really, and we'll talk about that. But first, it's time to remind you that if you would like to support us, you can go over to patreon.com/tvdudes. You can throw us $1 an episode. In exchange for that, we keep up with our streaming services, pay for our hosting costs, and you get bonus content each week. This week, we're talking about The Thing, finally.
Yeah, that dog is finally going to get out of the snow. We see what happens to the dog next.
We also have the $20 showrunner level, so if there are shows you want us to throw into the rotation, you can buy into that level and give us a couple ideas. I should say, I believe Mandy is sizing us up for some more anime soon. Also, my friends at work have decided that they're like, how can I get you to watch these shows? So some of my coworkers, my employees, not even my employees are like, what can we make Randy watch? So you guys may get dragged into this with me, and it may be anime. I'm just warning you right now. Although I think Nick had talked about possibly throwing The Unusuals at us, and I was like, oh, you don't got to pay me for that. I want to watch The Unusuals anyway. It's just not streaming anywhere. So
yeah, there's also probably some wrestling coming around the corner. We got season 2 of Dark Side of the Ring.
Dark Side of the Ring now. I heard that's got the Andre the Giant episode.
Oh yeah, and the Chris Benoit, which is my brother's favorite episode.
Hey, I like Andre the Giant. I'm good with that. The rest of it's just all Greek to me. So. All right, so let's jump on into business and let's talk about Your Honor over on Showtime, which is Bryan Cranston's new gig. The showrunner was somebody I didn't really recognize, but I saw the Kings were involved, and they do a lot of stuff we really like. They do Evil, they do The Good Fight, they do The Good Wife. And
interesting.
I think, Kyle, based on just how much we all watched, I think you were the guy who's going to champion this. So. Why don't you talk about what's good? Why don't you talk about what's good about it before I bring it all down?
Yeah, no. I gotta say, this is it's great watching Bryan Cranston do interviews and press for this, because he even admits like this show's gonna give you anxiety. It is not a feel good. It's not a Ted Lasso 2020. This is not Bryan Cranston, Malcolm in the Middle, which by now is not what he's known for anymore.
Teaching his kid to roller skate.
Yeah. No, what this is very competent show, but it has a pilot that is just puts itself out there, much like The Night Of, which we talked about a couple of years ago. Actually, it might have been one of the first shows I ever talked about after starting the podcast.
Same writer, by the way, Peter Moffat.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, then my joke is super poignant, because I said this is The Night Of if it was a white kid who actually did it instead of being a brown kid who didn't do it. Because what happens is it sets up the nightmare scenario where we first get to experience it from the point of view of this kid who has just gotten into an accident and he's hurt somebody. Most likely he has killed this person in this super gruesome accident. And the show makes you feel every second of it. I'm not going to spoil it, but I mean, there was some like Evil Dead moments to this little setup they have. And the thing is, we find out that as horrific as it is for this kid, that really, and you get this in the trailer, the POV, the really horrific thing is that day you come home from work and you find out your kid has done something that you had no control over, that he can't take back. It's going to change the course of his life forever. And what it means to be a parent in that situation. And first episode, we see Bryan Cranston deal with this, but go, you know what? I'm a judge, a man of the law, You're going to turn yourself in, kid. All right. This is, come on. This is crazy. This ain't Breaking Bad. He didn't say that, but takes his son to the police station only to find out the kid that he killed is the son of a huge crime boss. All right. And to turn his son over to police right now is pretty much to sign his death warrant, because in jail, he would surely be killed by this crime boss's vast criminal empire, thus kind of throwing Bryan Cranston into the shit where now he has made the decision that he's going to try to cover up this heinous crime his son has caused. And it doesn't matter how many people he pulls into it or how deep he has to go. Yeah. And this thing unfolds in a stranger than fiction way. There are a couple twists here where you're like, no way. It feels like something you would see on Fargo. But then with these twists, you get characters that are very much television show characters. Some of the fun of shows like Fargo is that when the drama gets really serious, you kind of forget you're watching a show. People aren't trying to crack jokes or anything like that. And I feel like this show does still do a lot of work later on to make certain characters likable. And really it takes away from kind of the the weight of like these really heavy things that are happening. Outside of the premise, I don't want to get into too much more without spoiling it. And even if I could, there's 2 episodes left, and it looks like they saved all of the heavy stuff for last. I will say where I'm at right now is a huge turn. It's actually where I thought the season was going to end. So it will be cool in these final 2 episodes. I think it's going to come down to a scene where literally it's going to be the Bryan Cranston character, who is a judge, who's put in the judge's chair and has to decide whether or not to do something crazy in the court, something that would compromise his character.
I greatly disliked this. And here's the thing. I loved Night Of. Night Of was really good, amazing performances. It was very dark, but it was also, the mystery was so good. Your Honor is so weirdly predictable in its attempts at unpredictability, and also it's so dour. And I feel like you want this to be Breaking Bad. Like Breaking Bad and all those, they were slow, but they were deliberate, and they were also like so watchable. The moment to moment was so good. The performances here are all great. Like there's a lot of good cast. Everybody's doing their best work, but I feel like the story's not engaging, and also it takes forever to get going. And then some of the twists are so pulpy and ridiculous, but they're being played straight. And I don't know. I got into episode 4, and I got about halfway through, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm done. I don't care what happens to any of these characters. I don't care how it all comes out. It's done. It's professionally done. Like it's got, how Prime and Showtime both have this issue where they do shows, and there's this commonality thing of like, this premise should work, this cast should work, these people should work, but for some reason, it's just kind of slow and boring. Mm-hmm. I feel like if someone else had done this, and I don't know how this is a network wide thing. It feels like there's got to be some executive who's like, slow it down a bit, slow it down, make it really make it clear. Because I was like, when they did the whole setup, and I first of all, I feel like they took too long getting to that. That first episode could have been like half an episode, and then they started introducing all these twists and turns, and most of them I'm not that invested in. I'm not buying. So I don't know. I felt like Bryan Cranston put on a great performance here, but the crux of Breaking Bad was that basically you find out that Walter White basically was never this good guy that he portrayed himself to be. He always sort of wanted this. He felt like he'd been, he'd been kind of cheated out of getting this life that he deserved, and this was his way of getting it back. And he became this crime boss, this judge who basically is trying to help his kid. I don't know. He's still playing a little like Hal and Malcolm in the Middle, where he's just like, he wants to be the good guy the whole time, and he's not quite just steering into it. The way Walter White sort of became almost gleeful about becoming Heisenberg, and there's none of that here. I don't know. Les, what do you think?
You made it a lot farther than I did. I watched one episode and it didn't grab me, but I wasn't sure. Like you said, it's just professionally done. I just didn't plug into it. But it also took me. I mean, I watched Night of this year, like a couple of months ago. Finally, it took forever for me to sit down and plug into that show. It's fantastic. I just really wasn't in the mood for it for a long time.
Yeah.
Can I get?
Say what?
Oh no, sorry.
So this may just be one I'm not, because I really like Evil and Good Wife and Good Fight, but yeah, I just didn't. I don't know. It's dour and yet I didn't care. It really good looking paint that dried, but I didn't really want to watch it.
I mean, and the cast is great. Like
and I say that even with a freaking accent, like knowing that there's going to be some spectacular crazy shit.
It's not just Bryan Cranston, because it's also got God, I can't remember. Isaiah Whitlock Jr. Yeah, he's really great in this. It's got Hope Davis playing the wife. It's got the guy who was one of the crime bosses in Boardwalk Empire playing the crime boss. Like it's a good solid cast, and the kid is doing a good job playing sort of haunted by what he's done.
Oh yeah, but
I don't know. There's also like, I feel like having him have an affair with his teacher is like gilding the lily. It's like, wait, why do we need that in here too?
Do you recognize that actress?
She looks familiar.
The oldest daughter from the Mick.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So it's funny because they made her look not like a child, like an adult. I will say, and I'm going to jump into a little spoiler territory, because in the Night of, there was a moment where I was like, okay, that's a bridge too far. And it was the moment where he convinced his defense attorney to shove drugs in her vagina.
That's a tough part of that.
I actually literally had to double watch it because I didn't understand what was happening in the scene, because that just seemed too ridiculous for me.
Yeah.
The moment where this show did that for me was when the son starts dating the sister of the kid he killed.
Oh, I hate that.
And the thing is, it's not like they knew each other before. They do it meet cute, like it's a Matthew McConaughey movie or something.
Yeah,
like it is. It really takes you out of it, and it's interesting listening to your criticisms. Like everything you say is right. I think Les, you made a good point about like it's expertly executed. So like all the performances are great. I feel like the setting of New Orleans is taken very seriously, and there's a lot of cool stuff there. Oh my gosh, there's this one. I just have to say, there's like a whipping boy on the show. The kid who initially gets framed for the crime.
Yeah,
like you thought that kid in the Night of had it bad. Like this is like this kid had it awful, and I didn't want to watch it. I was like Les. I got an episode in and was like, I can't do it. But then Lupin was some weird French thing going on, so I was like, all right, I guess I'm gonna see if this kid goes to jail or gets killed by the mob first.
All right, so let's divert over to something that I would much rather talk about, which is season 3 of Cobra Kai over on Netflix.
Whoa.
This was great. I thought this was the best season they've done so far, to be honest.
Ooh. Well, then I guess we're going to flip roles, because I got some gripes. I got some hot takes.
Okay.
For Cobra Kai.
Yeah, I really dug this too.
So,
can we give the breakdown without spoiling previous seasons?
Here's the thing. We've got the time codes. We can do spoilers. We can just say, we're going to do spoilers for Cobra Kai season 3. I think that's fair. So, the basic breakdown here is there was a big fight by karate gangs in the school, which where we pick up. And so the Valley is getting a little skittish. They don't want to have a karate tournament. They want to talk about shutting down these dojos. There's metal detectors in school to detect their nunchucks or something. And and then the Cobra Kai have been taken over by Kreese, and we get a little bit of his backstory in Vietnam.
And working the soda hop.
And meanwhile, Daniel is facing some trouble at his car dealership, so he has to go to Japan. And when he goes to Japan, you're going to run into some of that Karate Kid 2 flashback stuff.
Oh, man, Chosen!
Meanwhile,
so good.
One of the cliffhangers of season 2, Johnny had accidentally sent a message or a friend request to Allie over on Facebook. And guess who shows up for a fantastic episode? It's the original girlfriend, from Karate Kid.
And then Johnny melts her brain like Homelander.
And then this is not even to mention all the crazy stuff going on with the kids, where you've got Hawk Breaking Bad for real, and the Cobra Kai has split in two, and it's like the people who are still with Kreese and the people who are now with Johnny, who is going to make his new karate, and you've got Johnny's son doing his like third heel turn, I think.
Yep. So like Robbie's back to being a heel. Yeah.
And there's so much, and Miguel who has been sort of a main character is in bad shape. He's basically paralyzed, and he has to go through physical therapy to get things back. There's a lot going on. This is such ridiculous soap opera, and yet I think it works so well because it knows exactly what it's doing.
There's a lot of times where, I mean, like Westworld not making the top list for me this year. That's a great show, but I don't think that the most recent season was their greatest season or anything. With Cobra Kai, they're building so solidly on what they've done before to like there'd be no way to be standing on the shoulders like this is crazy goofy shit that you can't have walked me out to without those previous seasons.
Right.
Because this season, I mean, I already had a problem not problem, but a lot of times on this show of like, who are these parents that have not like stopped this crazy fucking like what the shit is going on at this school? And then this season, like, even though it does go way past that of like, oh my God, is this like the third like big brawl? I mean, like, seriously, Shaw Brothers produced this series or what? And and then but then this season kind of also deals with it a little bit. The town council, whatever, about the karate thing. All of these people that are like, look, I don't really give a shit about karate. I kind of thought that went out in the 80s. Are we still doing a tournament? Apparently we're still doing a tournament, and the insurance is nuts. And like I loved their like, I know this is the most important speech you've ever given in your life, but also we're the All Valley City Council, and we're basically in a glorified homeowners association. Don't care about karate. I really, there were a lot of great moments. Peeling that onion back and deepening into Kreese.
Yeah, great use. I like that a lot.
And I feel for him a little bit, but I still hate him. This show deepened me into Johnny Lawrence, where I can't be he's not a villain for me anymore.
Right.
And that's great. They deepened into Kreese where it humanizes him, but I still hate him.
He's still evil. Well, I love that Kreese is such a good bad guy, because when Amanda, Daniel's wife, goes to him, and like basically he sort of draws her to slapping him, and then he's able to play the victim. Like, he's a smart bad guy, and I love that.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw my first gripe out here, because I think there's a huge missed opportunity. And on the surface, this sounds like the most cliche thing the show could have done, which is redeem Kreese.
No.
You're right. No, I don't want that. Okay. But how badass would it have been? All right. In kind of Kreese's final character moment of the season, he's put in a situation where his military commander, does him wrong. All right. I'm like, what if he would have shown that guy mercy? What if the whole time we're told that this guy doesn't know how to show mercy, and that's all he chooses? What if really, no, he can show mercy, he just chooses not to? Like,
and I still pay that off in season 4. Who knows?
I thought that could have been more. Well, not after what happened to his commander.
Well, no, but I mean, they could show him learn from that.
Like, I did double takes. The person who played his commander in the flashbacks. Who's the kid from Weird Science and all the John Hughes movies?
Anthony Michael Hall.
Yeah, Anthony Michael Hall. I was like, is that Anthony Michael Hall?
He does look a bit like.
Yeah. I will say my biggest gripe was how they chose to treat the first episode, and I think had this been my introduction to the show, or if maybe I just marathoned the last 2 seasons for the first time, it wouldn't have bugged me as much. But it seemed like they were trying to give the whole, here's what happened last time on Cobra Kai, but not like that. Exposition in every scene, like if we have, like, it's the outcomes of what happened last season, Miguel in the hospital bed, this or that. But we know Miguel's getting out of that hospital bed. Like, we know that kind of all the impact of that huge brawl at the end of season 2, like it doesn't really have any consequences for anybody outside of Johnny, who coincidentally, Johnny was my favorite story of the whole season, which the show's all about him, so it should be.
I felt like they had to show everybody twist in the wind there for that first episode, but it did make it like it did make it so that I was glad I was binge watching it to get straight into the shit.
I watched episode 2 though and was like, all right, it's go time. I'm in.
Because I thought about you saying that, and like it didn't bother me, but I could see it. Because it did feel like a lot. I mean, I realized through episode 1, like there's so much they've got to show me the ramifications of, and really let it sink in.
Well, and I think the way you don't do that is don't build up so much stuff in your season. Like, you can have good season finales without needing to resolve 10 items next season.
That's true.
Oh man, I thought they did a great job of. I think when you open with this much stuff, and I think that's one thing they do throughout the season. This is what, 10 episodes? They get so many stories and so many characters serviced that other shows would be looking to these people for how to make sure that no characters get underwritten. Like the nerdy dudes in Cobra Kai each get a little arc. Like they really service all the characters. I love that the first episode was about basically what would actually happen if something like that giant brawl that was so cool at the end of season 2 went down. I love the mom who they're interviewing for the news, who's like, we got all this other shit going on. Now I got to worry about karate gangs in the school. That was one of my favorite moments. That I was on board from that very moment. I like feeling like Mickey getting hurt that badly really set a shockwave. Like it changed everything for everyone. It set Robbie on the path of becoming a bad guy. Like he had done something he couldn't walk back, and it changed things for Samantha. It changed things for Daniel. I thought that they really played off this thing of like, yeah, because he's the lead, we know he's probably getting out of that chair. But I honestly thought there's a way that they might just leave him in the chair and go a different way with him.
He could have done that. You know, I was kind of disappointed to find out the girl who was LaRusso's best friend.
Her bestie.
She did not return for the season.
They just wrote her off. And I'd heard something about that.
Yeah, I went down the rumor mill too.
Yeah, at least the rumor mill was that the writers just didn't know what to do with that character or whatever. Like, I could see it. Basically, she's Samantha's Hawk.
Yeah.
To Miguel, like she's the friend that was turning bad. But in that, I guess they don't necessarily need that parallel. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still kind of, I don't know. I was sad to see that character go.
I guess I assumed that was the actress had gone on to a different thing. Because why on earth would you not? That was one of the best characters, and also.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they chose to not bring her back. She's even gone out and said, "I would have loved to do this. In fact, if they bring me back in the future, I love doing this show."
That's disappointing because she's also one of the few female characters of color in the show.
Yeah,
that's a really notable decision. That's unfortunate.
Their move to Tori this season, I feel horrible for her character has snapped. Like her character is irrational villain.
Yeah,
like she's crazed now.
Yeah.
I swear to God, if there was magic on this show, she'd be we would open season 4 and she's just a cheetah.
Yeah, I agree. I think
I do wonder how much Hawk's big incident breaking the arm influenced her, or at least made her go, "Oh, this is okay. My friends
how much it normalized the next
Capitol building, so I mean, I can do it too. Nobody's going to arrest me for stealing this lectern."
The way that they have turned Hawk from hero to villain back to hero is an impressive bit of writing. I think part of that is owed to the actor making that character so likable. But man, he breaks a character's arm maliciously, and I still cheered for his reversion to a hero.
I actually believe that very, very short, very quick. I'm sorry, man, for all of it. Do you want to help me win this?
Yeah.
I was like, I shouldn't buy this. This is too fast, but fuck it, man. I'm there. Because the other kid's 80s, let's do it.
That was his rock bottom. He got to that moment, he broke the arm, and when he felt it and was like, okay, I don't like this.
Also, that flying punch kick dive bullshit over that kid though, man, the stunts and the massive brawls this season, you could tell that they had that. Well, we did an all school fight. What do we do next?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let's fight every 3 episodes and go to Japan.
By the way, going to Japan.
Yes.
Great setup to tie it into the business, to give a reason to go back. And then Karate Kid 2 is not as good as Karate Kid. As I watched the flashback stuff, I was like, oh man, this is definitely...
I saw it in the theater. It's
good enough for Tokyo Drift to rip it off.
Right?
Yeah,
And
no,
they
I
use
do
clips
too.
that aren't quite in the original movie. There's a
Yeah.
little bit like I read a little bit of it. Like they got to pull some behind the scene or extra little bits that just were edited out of not used in the original movie, which gives it a nice feel.
But like I love seeing him and reconnecting with his old girlfriend. I thought they did a great job of that. I love what they did with Chosen. So perfect. And then the bit it's almost a bridge too far, but having the girl that he saved happen to be a VP at the car company that saved his butt. I
Of
was like,
course
man,
she
that's
is.
beautiful. But it also, I like that they use it to reinforce. It's not just a coincidence to move the plot forward. It is to reinforce a theme of if you do good things,
Mm-hmm.
good karma will come to you, and that's part of the philosophy of Cobra Kai. It's the redemption is such a philosophy of it, which is why I could see them redeeming Kreese at some point, because basically the theme seems to be that nobody's beyond redemption.
Especially when they do the whole dinner scene with Allie at the charity thing, which is just great. Like I really like Daniel's wife in the show.
That's such a great character.
And she handles that. She gets to handle that scene so well. Like I just love what they do with her character in it. Of like, oh no, you are definitely telling the rest of that story.
I love. There's no jealousy. Like,
yeah,
no,
yes, they didn't go down that They didn't do any of that bullshit.
So happy that instead
I had my fingers crossed because I was like, don't screw things up with Miguel's mom. Like,
same.
Good.
Yeah,
they didn't go through any. There wasn't a whole episode of Johnny lying about that. Nothing. It wasn't ever going to be a thing. It was just a wonderful afternoon.
He got one perfect day where he got to wake up with Miguel's mom, hang out with his high school girlfriend.
Right. This is definitely the best day of Johnny Lawrence's life in a while. Lighting Miguel's fucking shoe on fire.
Okay, that's great.
That is some Miss March hit him with a baseball bat shit, man. That's great.
So, one of my favorite moments from season 2 is the double date where Johnny and Daniel sort of wind up on a date with like Miggy's mom and his wife, and the women are having none of it. They're just like, this is ridiculous. You guys have you're grown men. What are you doing? And I love they played that even better with them at the country club where she's like, oh, they have rival karate dojos.
Are you kidding?
And it's just they are so done with it. It's the stupidest thing, and they just want to mock it. And I loved every minute of it.
And Allie looking at them both of like, stop it. You both have so much in common. You just look at each other and see the parts of yourself you don't like. Are you kidding me? Like, it's just great.
So there's a lot of stuff this show does good, but I think one thing it does better than anything I have seen before, a masterclass, is how they treat the Pat Morita cameo. All right. Because literally, Mr. Miyagi is only mentioned, is only shown in pictures, but I'll be damned if he isn't a main character in every single episode of this show.
Oh, for sure.
The situation that they are in or the place that they are, it always relates to. Heck, you can't even show Miguel a car without going, I remember when Mr. Miyagi gave me this car. And he was like, really got to
Tori
wax
attacks
on, wax
Sam.
off.
It's the final moment to make Sam step up again. Is breaking Miyagi's photo.
Yeah.
Which gave me the goosies. I was right on. That's it. All right, kick some ass.
Yeah.
Got to interview the actor that plays the head of the Vietnamese that we want to spoil it. That ended up naming Cobra Kai. And he was talking about auditioning to be a bartender on the show last season and not getting it and being like, damn it, I loved Karate Kid. I'm the exact right age for this. And being so disappointed, and then getting the chance to do this because he speaks like multiple dialects of Vietnamese and was like, I'm perfect for this. Please let me be this. And and he's like, I think it's the most villainous thing he's ever gotten to play. Actor's name is actually Han Soto.
Nice. You also did an interview with the actress who plays Samantha.
Oh, yeah. We talked.
That's like one of our highest rated interviews on YouTube.
Yeah, Mary Mouser. In the first season. And I'd love to interview her again, because in the first season, we talked about how great, how cool it was to be on the show, but she hadn't really. Sam comes up in the first season. It's like the end. It's literally like the end of season 1 when she's like, fine, Dad, I'll study your lame-o karate. And then in season 2 and 3, obviously now she's a huge factor in the show. But at the time, it was just kind of like, no. If we get a season 2, it's going to really go somewhere.
This is one of those shows that I feel like this could easily have not worked, or it could have been terrible, it could have been cheesy, and it's like it knows exactly what it is, and it's. I think the tagline for Cobra Kai for every review is it has no right being this good.
Yes, everybody has to say it compulsively.
All right, let's jump over to another Netflix show, and that is The History of Swear Words, starring Nicolas Cage.
About fucking time.
This one, the trailer for this one got me. It's Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cage. He's in like his this weird den that I'm not entirely convinced is a set, and might just be at his whatever castle he lives in.
Looks like a Mountain Dew commercial.
Yes, and then they so he's like the narrator of this thing where they talk about a different swear word, and then they have like a historian who actually wrote a book on this history of swear words. They've got comedians. I love that Nikki Glaser, she's funny in everything. And they just do these little, they talk about, and they, when they do the episode about shit, they get Isaiah Whitlock Jr. to do the longest shit ever.
Yeah.
This was, I wasn't sure what to expect from this, but this was delightful. This was just what I needed in a kind of a dark week to like make me smile. And I thought it's knowingly silly. It's not like high academia, but it's got a veneer of academia. And every episode made me laugh and taught me a little bit of something about group privies or what exactly we think fuck means. And
it's got a little bit of that VH1 comedian talk soup kind of vibe. Best year ever or whatever. But it's not quite as aggressively stylized as the ... that made us series. I feel like it kind of walked a medium between, though I did look to see if it was produced by the same people because it kind of has that vibe. I really enjoyed this. Nicolas Cage obviously is the perfect choice for this, and he leans into everything. So it just
did
real
any
fun.
of the words make you guys uncomfortable?
No.
What was there one word that made you more uncomfortable than the others? Because I was surprised at my reaction of hearing the word bitch.
I was about to say bitch. Bitch is the one that I had the most trouble with because it's the only one of those swear words that and they even talk about this, like all the rest of these, any of us can use. Anybody can use fuck. Anybody can use shit. Anybody can use ass, damn. Bitch is not universal. You can't just pepper it in like Smurf.
I think it didn't make me uncomfortable, but I think that they did a great job of exploring this is kind of a gendered insult and there's no way to use it that's not. And I like that they talk about sort of people reclaiming it, and Nikki Glaser talking about, like, I feel like bitch is becoming a thing. It's like, this is a thing that you kind of don't want to be the guy using that word. Like I thought they did a good job of putting it in its context and being like, we don't think about it because it's such a common word, but there's an implication that comes with it no matter how you're using it, unless you are reclaiming it for you and if you and your friends are reclaiming it and sort of using it in a sort of a self-deprecating way. And I thought that was really interesting.
I think I watched all of these. Oh, good.
Yeah, there's only like 4, right? No, Portlandia had this bitch bit years ago where it was the cell phone thing where it takes them forever to buy a cell phone, and they get free sunglasses, and they look like Tiger King sunglasses, but they say bitch on the side. And then like there's a callback later in the episode where it's like nobody will talk to you while you're wearing those bitch glasses.
it always makes me think of the Key and Peele skit of like, and I told my wife. They're out in space before he'll say it.
I was surprised they didn't pull clips from that. That was a pretty good use of it.
Did they not? I thought they referenced it. Am I just crazy?
No, I don't think they.
They did. They did the one where they're hiding in the tree.
Yeah, they showed.
That's what it was.
They showed them.
Yeah. So there's only. Go ahead.
A friend of mine mentioned, and I feel it's a fair criticism, that when you're doing a show about the history of swear words, it is weird not to show George Carlin's bit about the 7 words you can't show on television.
I was amazed. Yeah, that's honestly why I thought maybe I'd missed some episodes because he lines out 7. So it's what fuck, shit, damn, bitch,
and pussy.
That's right.
Pussy, that's it.
And so
that was the one that made my wife uncomfortable. Hearing that over and over again.
I think only because like the pussy hats and stuff like that in the last few years is that. But so growing up though, there was one swear word that meant leave the house for the rest of the day and just let my mom have it. Like, don't come back. Even if she's not mad at you, just don't be near. And that's the C word. If my mom said cunt, leave town. Just get away. Just run.
Yeah, because I am a fan of some British and Australian writers who use it.
It's not as bad there, apparently.
More frequently. It has slipped into my lexicon. I don't say it out loud. To me, saying it is just not. I can't do it. But I will use it with a blacked out U to refer to politicians and Trump voters.
I was getting ready to say. I hear you say it like. We get ready to do a podcast, and you're like, "This politician, blah blah," and then a few words later.
That's who I've reserved that word for, and I think of it in the British sense. Yeah,
I remember being a kid taking piano lessons. I was like 6 or 7, and my piano teacher, for whatever, there was some British guy in for a concert at the community college or something, and so. We were told, like, super special, this much better piano teacher than I will be here for this week to show y'all extra stuff. And so for like 2 weeks, we had this weird British dude. And he would drop his voice to a whisper volume when he said bloody. But he'd say fuck.
Yeah.
And like 3 times in 2 weeks, I remember as a kid, it was like Eddie Murphy big for me. Because like she had to like, hey, like stop saying that in front of kids. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry.
This was a delight. I hope there's more on the way. It was just...
they could go through the whole Urban Dictionary if they wanted to.
Well, also it was a quick watch. I'd watch it all in one night. They're like 20-minute episodes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun. It made me want to buy the books from the academians who were on here.
It kind of gave me a similar vibe to Drunk History, where you're kind of learning something, but you're really just laughing.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good comparison.
None of them were shitty. They're all pretty fucking short.
Yeah.
All right, so
especially
finally,
the Dick episode.
Yeah,
So
Dick.
finally,
That's the other one. There was
the
Dick.
other one, Dick.
Oh my god. Why don't we make Nick? Why wasn't it a Nick?
You'd be a Nickhead.
All right, so let's close out with our Netflix show that's pretty much diametrically opposed to History of Swear Words, and that is the second season of Transformers: War for Cybertron. This one's called Earthrise. It's 6 episodes. Les, how much of this did you get a chance to watch?
I watched all of this.
So I did too.
The story of Optimus Prime and the Matrix of go fuck yourself. No, wait, that's a different. The Matrix of Leadership.
I was weirded out that in a show called Earthrise, Earth is in the last 5 minutes.
I mean, it rose.
It did rise.
No, I was wondering, like, they're taking their sweet time to get to Earth, and even then the stinger on this is wild. I same as last time. It took me almost a full episode to get back into this. I mean, if I honestly, I don't know how I got into it the first time in The Siege. I think I must have really wanted to watch some Transformers, because once I'm into it, it's great. But if I had to sit through the first episode of Earthrise going, no, I liked this. Give it a minute. I think it's mostly that I can't figure out why, if you have malleable mouth metal that can just move like that, why not build the rest of it out of that too?
Yeah.
Like, I deeply want the Doctor Doom mask mouth or something like this. I hate their fucking mouths. That's the only part of the animation that bothers the shit out of me.
If you do the lips like that, then you can give me some calf muscles that don't look like Kleenex boxes.
Right. Why is the rest of you not a T-1000 then? So yeah. Anyway, that's my only real issue with it. But I really like the storyline, the plotting, particularly that this season has the weird. The Scorpion, whatever, Scorpionator, that thing's fucking great. But it touches on movie stuff. It touches on Galvatron. I don't even think they name him, and Unicron, and they don't name him either. And my favorite thing in all of Transformers, Quintessence.
So yeah, they're definitely playing off the movie stuff without doing the movie. But Galvatron is like the future of Megatron, and he's talking about like the coming of Unicron and all this stuff.
And like, I'm going to help you so that I exist. Like,
yeah, he's trying to get Megatron to become him, and that's such a cool idea. Like, if you loved the Transformers movie, which I did, to see this, like, it's kind of like what they did in Transformers or in Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles, where they took this 80s property and looked and did the time travel stuff. We're like, what would we do if we could really like mess around with the backstory of this a little bit, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting. I liked all of that stuff. Scorponok, they play him as sort of this big alien beastie who's so threatening they all have to team up against him.
I love that it kicks the living shit out of them a couple of times.
Yeah. And the Quintesson, who is like this very sinister, weird, like
I love the Quintessons, and that they've worked them into the backstory, because they talked about it in the Siege. They work them into the backstory of like Megatron crawled out of the gladiator pits where the Quintessons used to just make them fight like they were just battle bots in some kind of shitty AMC or A&E show.
You know what was
yeah, so I like that. And then having the Quintesson double dealer's a trip, but having the Quintesson betray his other selves was awesome. You know
what the weirdest thing for me though was? Using Skylinks, just one of the weirdest Transformers ever.
Who's one of the weirdest ever?
He's like their weird Buddha who's like guiding them through this stuff.
I love that he's like their Transformer that was so powerful that they had to put him in like the negative zone.
Yeah.
And by being there, he's now learned to be like this Zen master. And every time they would cut back to him just standing in like a no land, he literally looks like your like next door neighbor that had the cooler toy set than you.
Yes.
Like it looks like somebody just said like Skylinks, some toys sold separately.
Yeah. I have to say, I think overall I didn't like this season as well as I like the first one. The first one was a really good little war story, and it builds this great thing of them escaping on the Ark. And then this one kind of felt a little more meandery to me.
I think I overall liked this one better though, just because of the big picture weirdness.
Yeah, I did like it. It was weird. It was not what I was expecting at all. But the thing is, I'm like, there's a lot of you guys you're only doing like 18 episodes. There's one more season, and this felt like a lot of time spent on something that like this did not feel like a middle act. This felt like the bottle episodes that you do.
Well, like this feels like this entire 3-thing arc is the opening.
Yeah,
like this. That it feels like they're going to finish whatever the next one's called. I don't know, Earth Noon, and and those together make a first act, frankly, because I mean, where this one ends is not modern times.
Yeah, I like that ending a lot. I did the ending, and I'm excited to see the next part.
Was that a reflection in that dinosaur's eye,
or is he a dinosaur, or is he a robot?
Is that a Dinobot?
I think it's a reflection, but I think we are going to get Dinobots.
I think so too, but it threw me. I mean, I was left with the credits rolling, going, "Was that a Dinobot?" Because that's a really great looking Dinobot, but that would make no fucking sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn you, Transformers. I enjoyed this. Literally, other than their weird mouths that look like Conan O'Brien interviewing somebody from in the 90s. I like everything else about it.
And that'll wrap it up for us this week, folks. Thank you to our listeners. Thank you to our patrons. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Les.
Thank you, Randy.
Just a reminder, if you are a patron, you can go over and listen to our bonus episode. Listen to Kyle finally talk about the scary dog movie that he watched.
Yeah, with the helicopter.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The helicopter and dog snow movie.
And if you're not a patron, consider becoming a patron. Go to patreon.com/tvdudes. Throw us a buck an episode. You can listen to the hundreds of bonus content, including Kyle talking about scary dogs and helicopters.
Yes. Iron Will 2.
But
that's what we watched, right?
Until next time.
TV Dudes out.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV Dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.